Welcome to the Jeremy and Andy Talk Movies podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I am Andy.
And Andy, I often tell my students in the classroom that I'm not above a good bribe. And they always ask, what's your price? And I'm like, whoa, I'm not naming prices, but I'm just letting you know somewhere out there is the number if y'all want to try. What about you, Andy? Do you think that you are above a good bribe or no?
Oh no, give me a good bribe. I'll take it any day.
Yeah,
I mean, it always seems to work well in the movies, so
right.
very little could go wrong, I think.
Yeah, very little. Of course, the movie we're talking about, it's not exactly a bribe situation, but is a ethical can you take the money or not situation. We are talking about the new Netflix movie, The Rip.
Hmm.
And once again, that's one of those qualifiers I don't know if you have to give, but I just feel like you always do when the movie's straight to Netflix, you got to call it a Netflix movie because it just feels like something different than just a movie.
It does, and I'll just never ever get used to that, I don't think.
Not at all. But this one has the distinction of being. I mean, really, the thing that sells this movie is that it's Damon and Affleck together.
Yeah.
And I had someone ask me how many movies have they done together. I was like, it's really not that many. But then I started thinking back. I was like, it's more than I thought because they obviously Good Will Hunting is the first, and then they did Dogma together, and they had like some little cameos in other Kevin
Hmm.
Smith movies together. But more recently they did The Last Duel, they did Air, and now this one. So
Yeah.
I think in their interviews they've mentioned that they're just in their stage of life where they want to work with people they like working with, and they're still good friends, and so they're just like, hey, let's make movies together.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I think some people have said that we're basically the Damon and Affleck of movie podcasts. So
I have heard that. To be fair though, it's mostly just you and I saying that, not anybody else, but I have heard it
well, yeah,
from me and you.
right. We say it often though. We make sure it the saying meets quota between the two of us. So
Yeah. If you say something enough, I think eventually it kind of becomes true. So,
exactly. All right, so I'm going to give a brief summary of this one. It's one of those complicated films, and I don't want to like break it all apart in the summary, so I'll go really broad and say that Damon and Affleck play cops whose team is on edge after the murder of their captain when they find themselves on a bus that ends up being much bigger than they anticipated, which leads to them questioning loyalties and fighting to survive. Andy, was the rip good?
The Rip is awesome. Like I I wish more people would do this where like I mean a bunch of really good actors, but shining the spotlight on Damon and Affleck, just like, you know what? We're just gonna do a really cool, fun genre movie. And big thumbs up from me.
Yeah, I got done watching this, and my family asked me about it, and I said, "You know what it is?" I said, "It's a good bad movie," and they were confused by that. And I'm like, "Well, let me explain." I was like, "It has all the trappings of a normal Netflix movie. Like it's overly self-serious, it's overly simplified because they don't trust their audience to not be too dumb to follow." And yet they got these great talented people working on it and they sell the crap out of it and it's just a blast. I was like, so it's a really fun, it's a good movie, even though it's not a good movie, it's a good movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would almost venture to say it's like a B movie with A talent.
Yeah.
Like A plus talent. Like, yeah, this is really plot wise no different than like a million Gerard Butler like direct to streaming action movies, but it's just that Affleck and Damon and I I'm going to say them a lot, but I really think everybody's good in this movie. But it's just like those guys just elevating this material, and then you got to get the added joy of Affleck basically playing John Bernthal from the Accountant movies. You know what I mean? Which is like that's kind of fun to watch, and I mean more or less, and yeah, just a great time. It's a good, like to steal from the rewatchables. It's a great hang.
Absolutely, it is. That's what honestly what I was thinking to again reference a Ringer podcast or just Ringer personalities. Is this movie to me is what Bill Simmons and Chris Ryan think that. Oh crap! What's the Gerard Butler movie? Now I'm gonna Den of Thieves. It's what they think Den of Thieves is.
Yeah, yeah, they have such a high regard for that movie, and yeah, you're exactly right. Like to me, it's just it is what it actually is, which is just a so-so. action movie, kind of crime action movie. This is, yeah, the better version of that.
Yes. Uh, so I guess we could break down a little more what this movie's about. Um, and this is a movie. I'm going to go ahead and just say spoiler alert right from the beginning because it is a real twist and turn type movie. Right from the beginning, it's getting you guessing what's happening. So I don't want to blow any of that before we say spoilers. I would just recommend watch it, knowing as little as possible. Once again, this is the one positive thing I'll say for Netflix movies is because they don't advertise a lot. You don't have the like, oh well, I already know exactly what's happening because the extensive preview. I walked into this one going, I think they're cops. I think there's maybe some corruption possibility, and that's it. That's all I knew.
Same.
This movie started a little rough for me because well, there's this like shootout cop who gets killed in the beginning. Okay, real dramatic, dark in the rain. That sort of. I started to get early on Havoc vibes. Havoc, the Tom Hardy movie we reviewed last year. That's
Yes. I was going to bring Havoc up at some point. Yeah.
yeah. And then we get the like everybody. It's the character introduction is everybody in the police station. They're being interviewed, and at first Affleck's playing like so like stereotypical tough guy cop. I'm smoking indoors.
Hmm.
I'm having back and forth banter with these guys who are, and then I get into a fight with one, and it's just like
Yes.
okay, wow, we're just
Oh
gonna be
yeah.
that over the top the whole time. The one nice little twist there is then the twist is that one of the FBI guys interviewing him is his brother, and you're like, oh, that's kind of
Uh-huh.
clever. That it turns out they're just siblings who fight. So
And yeah, he's like, "What's he doing?" He's like, "Oh, he's fighting with his brother again."
yeah, so that was a good little twist. The interesting thing always for me in any movie with Damon and Affleck is just what's their dynamic going to be like in the movie? Because I think we all just like them to be friends. So it's like, are their characters also going to be best friends in this movie? And they definitely indicate that they've got this strong bond that goes way back. But you also, again, the questioning thing, you're like, but is one of them corrupt and one of them's not? Or, what, how's this going to work? And there's a lot of friction between their characters throughout the movie. So uh, it was an interesting dynamic between the two for sure.
I was just to say we've seen them be best. They're best friends in real life, so we see that a lot, just played out. In their different interactions, and in Good Will Hunting, they have the friendship and stuff. So I did appreciate just a little bit of a twist on their relationship in this movie.
Yeah. I also think it's interesting that they typically play it where Damon's more the smart guy. I mean, obviously, Good Will Hunting, that's the
Hmm.
whole premise of the movie, but like I think for
Right.
whatever reason Affleck just plays sort of the big, he plays the heavy a little better because he's a big strong dude.
Hmm.
But he is also really smart, and I thought at first it was like, oh, they're really leaning into that. Affleck or Damon's the head of the group, and he's going to be the smart guy, and Affleck's going to be the just big dumb oaf. But actually, they made his character smarter than that, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah. Exactly. I agree completely.
So, anyways, the movie takes place. It took me a minute to realize that the Rip is a reference to when these cops basically raid a stash house, a gang stash house, and get their money, and it's a Rip is like the thing that they acquire. I was like, oh, now I get what this movie is, and it becomes a thing that I love. It becomes a movie that's one night and primarily one location. They're at this house. They find way more money than they expected. And when they find way more money than expected, all the tension rises because, and they sell this really well. It's sort of a thing that I hadn't seen in a movie and hadn't thought about. Like when you find a whole bunch of money, there's danger around every corner. Suddenly it's like, I got to trust, I got to worry about the loyalties of the people around me because of the temptations here. I got to worry about who we communicate with this because this much money is bound to have sort of like tentacles out everywhere and like different people could be dirty and Damon just seems kind of weird. He's doing things I picked up on early in the movie, and I'll be honest, totally missed the nice twist of why he was doing it, like telling people different amounts early in the movie when they were going to the job. Like I clocked like, hey, he's saying different amounts, but it never registered with me the kind of smart thing that he was doing. We'll talk about later.
They're really smart because Damon, like The Departed and some of these different movies, like he does such a good job. Like he is so likable, but he also plays like I don't know what the right word is. Maybe I say this a lot on here, but just kind of the douchey, like cocky, arrogant guy that he always he's really good at like, is there more to this guy? Like he does it in Interstellar too, like in his cameo. Like he starts out as the nice guy, but then there's kind of more to it. And so I think they're playing off of that, in this part of the movie that you're talking about. And I thought that was really smart.
Yeah, and they give him the background. It's kind of a typical thing, the haunted past, the kid who died in, but it also does play to effect of like, well, if he is kind of going bad, they give him the reason to suspect maybe he would have this shift in personality or a reason to go bad.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so I love the idea that like, oh shoot, we're kind of in over our heads here with the amount of money we have here. We got kind of a small team. They're pretty good about explaining the procedure, even though like again, I've not seen this before. I assume that it's accurate that you're supposed to count things on site. Uh, I guess because the more you move stuff around, the more opportunity there is for people to do things they shouldn't. So they're like, we got to camp out here at this place where we know like everything's been odd from the beginning. Like when we came into this neighborhood, there's no cars in any of the other houses, and you know, there's this girl living here, but she gave it up pretty quickly because she knows like this is a place you just don't mess with. It's that old adage of like if a car's left in a bad neighborhood unlocked, it's probably for a reason. Nobody's dumb enough to steal that car. Everybody knows like you leave it alone. So yeah, they know they're kind of like in a bad spot.
Yeah, and they do such a good job with all that stuff. And it's just like we talk about it all the time on here with just tons of different movies we've done. It's just like just a really great, cool, fun idea for a movie. Like, this is all happening. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of time to get us to this point in the movie. And then you're like, okay, I like this. Like, this is what I want to see right here. Because like you said, going in blind, and then you kind of get the idea. Like, I didn't know for a fact it was going to be all like the one night, basically one setting. But then, you're kind of getting that idea, and you're like, I like this. I like it. And then because this movie borrows from just a lot of different movie, like little Heat vibes, the town, all these different things. And it does the thing that all those movies do too. Like it's just a really um, convincingly written movie where even if that's not procedure like you're talking about, they make you feel like it is. So, mission accomplished with their setup.
Yeah, and this movie, like I said, it started out and I was like, oh no, this is just going to be kind of a dumb movie, and there's definitely some dumbness to it, but it's also got a lot of smarts to it. I mean, even little things like when they're counting the money in the garage and there's that old beat up station wagon, and the one guy played by Stephen Ewan is like, I'm going to move the car. They're like, why? He's like, I'm going to put it in front of that garage, which is not a very good shield. It's like pretty thin material. So I'm going to put this car in front of it. And he doesn't even have to explain why. It's because they know, like, if somebody shoots at us. And I'm like, that's just a smart move. That's a sort of thing that a movie that's just a little smarter than it has to be does. A dumb movie hiding behind the garage door is enough, and they start getting shot at and it stops enough of the bullets that they can then hide behind a flipped over table, which stops bullets too.
Yep, absolutely. Just little. It's the little, like we say a lot of here. Sometimes it's just the little touches like that make a big difference.
Yeah. Uh, and they do a good job of misdirection. Again, this is hard to talk about without spoilers, so I'm kind of just spoiling right now. Stephen Ewan ends up being one of the bad guys, but they do such a good job of building him up as the good guy, where everybody else is doing things that seem very suspicious, and it seems like he's the only one doing things kind of the right way. Uh, that I was most of the time I feel like I'm a pretty smart watcher, and I'm like, oh, I get what's happening here. I love it when a movie can actually use misdirection and get me, and I'm like, you got me, and this movie got me.
Me too. It's really good misdirection, and I don't know, maybe if I just feel this way, but casting Stephen Ewan, is that how you said it?
Yeah, and I'm not totally confident, but I'm trying.
My perception of him, like, and I can't even point to a specific role, but he just gives good, like, nice guy vibes. And so it is good, casting and good misdirection.
Yes.
So it got me too, if it makes you feel any better.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, as the villains, they cast Stephen Ewan and Kyle Chandler, who's famous for being like, one of the most famous TV dads. So they really were trying to flip, expectations on their head.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not trying to necessarily go scene by scene, but I'm just trying to think of how this movie unfolds. So they're in this tense situation. There's a pretty cool scene where Affleck's goes outside where Stephen Ewan's doing watch, and there's a light flashing, and it's very ominous in this empty neighborhood where, well, first off, all the house lights come on like synchronized, and then one of the porch lights is flashing, and Affleck again, smart
Hmm.
characters, like that's Morse code, and I can translate it, and it says pigs, right? I think is what it
Yes.
says. Uh, and he's like, I'm gonna go investigate by myself, and I'm like,
Smart guy.
that doesn't seem so smart, but you know, cool, go
Yep.
investigate, and then they again, there's like little misdirections, so Damon comes out and argues with Stephen Ewan again, and you just feel like he's being the worst to Stephen Ewan. And then he goes after Affleck, and there's some misdirection where you think, did Damon just kill Affleck? Is Affleck out of this movie now? Because it does the like famously, cut away right before something happens, which you should instantly know. Like that means he didn't. But for some reason, as a movie watcher, was like, oh man, did they just big twist kill off one of the leads? They didn't. We're in spoilers. I can say it.
No, they didn't. But this movie does do a really good job with stuff like that. Like I I don't know why this is handled well in some other because I feel like in a lot of other movies that kind of stuff would just annoy me and really just grate on my nerves. But I thought it was all handled really well in this movie. It's like you said, this movie's just a notch, smarter and a notch above a lot of other movies like this.
I think what really saved it is that it kind of had to be because most of these Netflix movies, I feel like, again, going back to something like Havoc, they really tried to lean on just like we're going to have these really long stunt filled action scenes that we're just not quite as good at as like the John Wick movies or anything. And this movie really doesn't have a ton of big action set pieces. It's mostly like the tension of the characters and what they're feeling and thinking and how they're interacting. And so it kind of had to be like if they didn't make good interactions there, you don't really have a movie, because there's not as much big shootout as I kind of expected. There was a moment where I was like, okay, we're gonna have like a gang is laying siege to this, and it's gonna be like assault on precinct 13 or something like that, and it does not turn into that at all.
Yeah, and that's probably the big difference. I mean, we've talked about Havoc a couple of times, which is a movie neither one of us liked. And yeah, that's probably the big difference is this movie actually has interesting characters in it, where Havoc just so much tried to lean into like the gritty, grimy, you know, cop world and stuff. And this is just way better at it and with much more interesting characters.
Yeah. So the big kind of reveal that we get to eventually, well, Affleck turns out to be alive. Turns out that Damon went over there, and where it cuts, where he's got his gun on him, is they end up just having a conversation, and that's where Damon reveals, "Sorry, I've been acting strange. Here's what's been going on: is I told everybody a different amount, and when we got that phone call from the gangs, said get out of there. There's no use dying over a certain amount. I just paired it up with whoever I told, and that's how I knew who was communicating with the bad guys." And I was like, "Oh, that's that's really smart." Like that was a moment that I was like, "Okay, I really dig this movie because I didn't see it coming, and that was way smarter than anything I expected in this movie, and that was really cool."
I no notes. I mean, I feel the exact same way. That's it's one of those cool moments where you're watching, you're like, oh man, that's great. Like that's so great. And I honestly can't believe a movie's never thought of that, until now.
Right? Yeah. Uh, and again, Damon's just such a good guy to sell that too.
Yes, Damon's so good.
So then they're flushing everything out. You're starting to get like the big reveal happens when Kyle Chandler's plays the head of like a SWAT team basically, and he shows up in his big SWAT vehicle, and Damon and Affleck load Stephen Ewan in there and all the money, and then they're all riding off together, and that's when they kind of break down the whole like here's what you think's been happening, here's what's actually been happening of the plot, and say I mean it's the scene that ties the movie together because they do it's a lot of exposition, but good it's good delivery of exposition because as an audience you're like just having so much fun going, oh, here's what's happening, and it all makes sense. Maybe this is the right point to have this conversation, and maybe not. But I'm going to have the conversation right now because while it is an exposition heavy scene, it does make me think of Damon has become like he's like gone viral for his comments on making a movie for Netflix, where he has expressed that Netflix kind of insist on repeating the plot multiple times in dialogue because they assume that people will lose, focus and pay attention to their phones. And I was like, so I had several thoughts about that. One was that makes a lot of sense. That checks out from what I've seen. Netflix does not have a lot of faith in its audience to just focus and follow through complicated plots. Um, in general, obviously they've backed some movies. They've Scorsese's done a movie with Netflix, and I don't think they gave him the note, "Hey, you need to really explain The Irishman multiple times through dialogue." But in general, they do really dumb down their movies. And I thought, yeah, like probably in this movie they explained things a couple times really obvious, but it was also a movie that kind of required it. I don't know, just I was really curious to talk to you and hear your thoughts when Damon made those comments about Netflix.
I mean, honestly, my initial thought was that it just kind of bummed me out. I mean, it's just like, I don't know, just I guess my age in relation to like the younger demographic, even like my own kids who are, the cell phone world they live in. And I'm like, it's fine for this movie. It's fine. And you're right. Like Damon delivering this exposition and stuff is all fine. So for this movie, it doesn't bother me. But for the bigger picture of movies, it really bothers me because, it's like, are we going to start going to where movies just dumb themselves down for us? Like, we don't want that. We've talked about that numerous times on here. Like, I don't, I, so there's two different things going on here. Like number one, I do always enjoy a dumb, fun movie. Like I praised Primate, a couple weeks ago. So like I'm not against the dumb, harmless, whatever movie, but I don't want things to shift to where like everyone starts to think like you got to just keep dumbing your movies down for this quick attention span generation. That's not where I want to go. So very mixed thoughts for sure.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was interesting that Damon just came out and said that, and I was like, man, is he just done doing movies with Netflix? Because that sounds like something Netflix wouldn't like people to say. But you know what? Netflix seems like the kind of company that they're like, we don't care. What are people going to not watch our movies? So just, you know, all publicity is good publicity is how I feel like Netflix executives probably feel.
I don't know, but yeah, it's like, and you like from Damon's point of view, is he just like, what? How old is Damon now? I mean, he's got to be in his 50s, right?
Damon's 55, so yeah, I think he's at an age where yeah, he does not care if Netflix gets mad at him.
I mean, is he just sitting there going, whatever? I'm just gonna say what I want to say, and if Netflix gets ticked off at me, I'll just keep doing Christopher Nolan movies.
Yeah, I think there's got to be a part of it where I think Damon and Affleck they fancy themselves like pretty smart guys and smart when it comes to films, and I think there's a part of him that was probably like, I just want to let the world know this is a Netflix notes thing. Like we don't think we need to dumb things down, and we get that it's kind of bad dialogue sometimes. We just want to let the world know we're aware, but Netflix kind of has you do this.
It kind of gives those vibes, doesn't it?
Yeah. Um, all right. So we've praised this movie pretty well,
Yeah,
and rightly so, because I think it is a fun movie.
yeah,
If there's a weakness to the movie, I do think that everything that happens after all the revelations in that truck is the weak point.
yeah.
Where they felt like they had to have one final little action run of, chase and stuff that I thought was the weakest part of the movie.
Yeah, because the movie kind of, it kind of hits this high note when you finally have all the information. You got Damon delivering this exposition and stuff, and yeah, it's a little bit of a come down after that.
Yeah. Especially because it's probably the dumbest things that happen because you've got this FBI blockade that stops their vehicle. They've got guns on all of them. It's like you're caught. There's nowhere to go, and yet somehow the two bad guys managed to get just run away. And
They do.
and it's like, well, I guess the FBI couldn't do anything about that. They could have never seen anybody just running away in opposite directions. So then like, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck have to be the ones to chase him down. It's like that was a little too easy for them to get in this one-on-one chase with both guys.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like I said, I tried to say at the beginning, it's like, look, this movie is, it's original and it's got some cool original ideas, just like what you were saying, like the way Damon sets up the bad guy and stuff, but it's still borrowing from it's also kind of playing just the cop movie like greatest hits at the same time.
Yes.
And and one of the greatest hits is that the good guys have to be chasing the bad guys at some point.
Yeah, it's like they had 25% of a good script, and then they were like, "Hey, AI, just take over and fill in with the usual."
For sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I did want to just shout out the guy who is the co-writer and director of this movie, Joe Carnahan, just because he is a director who like epitomizes exactly
Hmm.
what we're talking about, sort of the good bad movie director. He did Smoking Aces in 2006,
Uh-huh.
The A Team in 2010, which actually is just kind of a bad movie, but
Yeah.
The Gray, which I think is a great bad movie in 2011, and then more recently he did Boss Level, which is like one of
Yes.
those die and restart movies. It's really fun, but like on a lesser level than the Tom Cruise one,
Hmm.
obviously, Edge of Tomorrow. And then he did a movie called Cop Shop, which
Yep.
is another, almost assault on precinct 13 type movie. So he does like
Yeah.
this guy specializes in my movies are kind of B movies, but I'm going to make them fun.
Absolutely, he does. I'm here for it. Like I think, like I said, I think the world needs these kind of movies.
So yeah, I mean, I had a lot of fun with The Rip. I it's a movie I can see myself watching again.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched it again. I watched it once. I sat, watched it, and focused on it, and I've had it on like two more times while I'm just kind of roaming around the house and doing stuff. But again, I'll say the same thing I always say when we do these next Netflix movies. I 1000% would have gone to see this movie in the theater.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like during this run of, January, February, where there's not a lot going on. A Matt Damon, Ben Affleck cop team up movie.
Yeah, and I would like to think that it would have made pretty decent money.
Yeah, and we'll never know. Like we talk about it every week. So it had what I saw was $100 million budget, and the gross is just whatever value it's brought to Netflix that we'll never understand.
Yeah, they could tell. Yeah, it makes no difference. It doesn't matter if it's an $8 budget or an $8 trillion budget. It makes no difference at all, and that's so annoying to me.
Yeah. On Rotten Tomatoes, this movie.
Because it would also be really fun. Sorry, I'm not doing very good at not interrupting you. I would also be. I love box office, so I would love to see like what kind of numbers Affleck and Damon are bringing at this stage in their career. And this movie would have been a great judge of it because, like, Damon was in Oppenheimer, but he wasn't the draw of Oppenheimer. So I would have loved to have seen how they could have performed box office wise, and we just don't get that chance. So
Yeah, because their last couple movies, there was obviously The Last Duel, and it didn't do well. There was some like COVID era things going on with that. Then the
hmm
director just blamed young people and their young people ways on it. And then they did Air, which was basically straight to Prime,
yep.
and then this one. So yeah, there's not been a really good opportunity to gauge their combined box office appeal in a long time.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
Yeah. So Rotten Tomatoes, was shocking to me. 81% from the critics, 64% from audiences. I would have bet everything I had that this was a higher score from audiences than critics movie.
Yeah, that is really weird to me. That's a weird audience score. The critic score, is fine to me, but that audience score is really strange.
Yeah, I don't understand it. The only thing that I could possibly attribute to the funny thing is, as much as this is not like a super smart movie like we talk about, is that I could still see people because it's more talky and like situation driven. If they are watching it like Netflix thinks their fans are, looking at their phones, going like, "What's happening? Oh, I don't even know what's happening because I wasn't paying attention. I thought there'd be more shootouts in this movie." That's the only thing I could figure of why people wouldn't give this a higher score.
Yeah, that's my theory too. That's just that they just wanted more things to explode, I guess. I don't know. That's also disappointing to me if that is the case.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, that's disappointing.
Yeah. I feel like we should mention and I'm forgetting her name right now. It's really embarrassing. The girl who just got Oscar nominated from One Battle After Another, who's also in this movie. Perfidia Beverly Hills.
Yeah, Teyana Taylor.
Thank you. Yeah, just I don't know that she necessarily like stood out in any major way in this movie, but it's kind of cool that just in the last few months she's one battle after another, and now this. Like, seems like she's someone to keep your eye on.
Yeah, it would seem so. And then not at all a similar situation, but the girl who lives in the house played the basically like Superman character in The Flash, and
Hmm.
that was not a good movie. But it was kind of just like, oh hey, like
Yeah.
she made it out of
No.
that. She's still doing things. Good for her.
And good for her because that movie is hot garbage.
Yeah, it was not. It wasn't good.
No, in any way, shape, or form.
No. Yeah, but I think pretty clear that we recommend this movie.
I do recommend it. Yeah.
So, um, and then some point, Andy, I think we're going to do an episode on Mercy. We're a little behind on our schedule because bad weather's just come through. It's come through a lot of places. The theater, even if I wanted to get out and brave the elements, my local theaters were closed the past 2 days, so it was not even an option for me to get out and see Mercy. So, uh, hopefully we'll remedy that in the next few days. And then upcoming this weekend is Send Help, the Sam Raimi movie. How you feeling about Send Help?
Jeremy, I'm really excited about Sin Help. I like Sam Raimi and I like the trailer for this movie. I think it looks to me, my hope is that it just has that great Raimi balance of like, because he gets like violent, but he has a very specific kind of like cartoonish violence almost, and Rachel McAdams, and I don't know. There's just a lot of things in this movie. I think if it comes together like I hope it does, I think I'm really going to enjoy this movie. So I kind of have a little bit of high expectations for this movie.
Yeah, I'm I'm kind of like, yeah, medium expectations. I feel like it's a bit of a weird mix of like I did not expect watching this preview for it to be like from Sam Raimi, but when it said that, I was like, oh, that actually gives me a little more of a confidence boost. Um, and yeah, like Rachel McAdams, it's just kind of a weird genre movie for her. But yeah, so there's a lot of elements that I'm like, these are weird, but I'm very curious to see how they all blend and mix.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna um, try see if I can pull off a Send Help Mercy double feature. I mean, Send Help is definitely my priority, but you know,
Yeah,
I'm gonna try and do both.
that makes sense. Uh, yeah, and then we might squeeze in an extra little pod, a little bonus one here where we talk a little bit about these Oscar nominations that came out because I think we've got some thoughts, and so uh, we could have talked about it on here, but I didn't want to overwhelm this episode with that, so we decided to do something a little separate. So my point just being that we've it's been a little bit since our last episode because of the weather, but we've got things lined up and hopefully have a lot of things on the way.
Mother Nature has gotten in the way, and that reminds me of the Chris Pratt Parks and Rec, where he's like Mother Nature, and then Chris Pratt's like, and I'm Mother Nature's brother, Brother Nature.
Chris Pratt, man.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So yeah, I'm gonna go see Mercy in the midst of Mother Nature and Brother Nature causing us a lot of trouble.
That's right. Well, hope everybody's been safe and been okay in all this bad weather, and hopefully now everybody's getting back to the theaters and watching movies. If you watched The Rip on Netflix, please let us know what you think. If you liked it as much as we did, or if maybe you're one of those people that was a little lower on it, let us know maybe why you didn't dig it. So, yeah, just we love the feedback when we get it.
Always, always.
Well, thank you for joining us this week, and we will see you guys next time.
See you soon.